the new single from Lizzo with Sunday at Christmas here on Mersey Radio. And that brings us nicely to that time of the day where I hand over to the singers, the songwriters, the artists and the bands of the Merseyside area and give them a platform for people to hear their music. We call this section the Hometown Heroes. Last week, as I mentioned earlier, we had an amazing response to Black Utah and Jameson Muir and their track Roller. If you liked any of our Hometown Heroes, get online, give them a like on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, check out their Instagram, download their music, and support local artists. And before I introduce this week's Hometown Heroes, if you want to be featured on the Hometown Heroes segment, all that's required from you is a good quality MP3 of your current track, and we will do the rest. Please just remember, it must be radio friendly. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Sam Milne. Having always been into different types of music growing up, from musicals to the Beatles, Sam started getting into songwriting in 2019. After his first release last year, he now brings us his new release, Maybe. Produced by James Gorgler, the strong lyrics reference climate change and our relative inaction against a seemingly urgent scenario. So joining me now is Sam Milne himself. Sam, welcome to the Sunday show here on Mersey Radio. Are you okay?
Hiya, good to hear from you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I must admit, I've followed you on social media for a while, so I've been kind of keeping in touch with what you've been doing, and you've just released a brand new track, which we'll talk about very shortly. But first of all, I'm just going to hand it over to you for a second, just to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about you.
So my name's Sam Milne. I'm a young singer-songwriter, just releasing my second track at the moment, and it's going down well. I'm hopefully going to be doing lots more after Christmas and see where it goes from there. Hopefully get bigger.
Well, we're going to play Maybe very shortly. It was out last Friday, December the 3rd. What can you tell about the track? What was the inspiration behind it?
So the track is a bit different to some of my others. So after Christmas, you'll probably be hearing some a bit more heavier, bit more like distortion on the guitars and all that. But this was I had the inspiration for the track when I was on holiday in France in the summer, and it's kind of a bit floaty, and you can hear in the verse it's kind of meant to be a bit cloudy. It's not a very technical musical term, but if you listen to the track in a minute, you'll understand what I mean. And basically, the inspiration was when I'd just gone to France on holiday, and I'd just been working in London, and I was on the flight path to Heathrow, and there were just planes constantly going over. Like every 2-3 minutes, it was like, not as someone from the north, you get airports, but it's not the same as Heathrow. And I just thought, God, that's a lot of aeroplanes. And the track's about climate change, and it's not something I'm vocal on, quite a lot of politics and stuff, but climate change isn't something I've really that clued up on, just as much as the next person. But I just had the inspiration to think, God, something probably needs to be done about this, and out came the track.
Well, I've got to ask about your process for writing, and you're nailing that kind of acoustic troubadour kind of thing. What's your kind of process? Do you take inspiration from current events and things that are going on around you, or do you find yourself sometimes being more of a storyteller?
A bit of both. So I've got an idea for an EP next year, which is very much based around current events, what's happening. But for the first couple of songs, including this one and the last track, Living in Limbo, it's putting myself in someone else's shoes or someone else as a character I've made up and imagining what life is around them. Often I'll start with just a few chords and have an idea for the words, and the words come second. But on this one, unusually for me, the words came first, and I built the track around the words.
Well, I've got to ask about your songwriting icons, and the question I always like to ask is about who's on your Mount Rushmore of songwriters. Who are your big faves who really inspire you when writing songs?
Paul McCartney and John Lennon, so the Beatles, George Harrison, up at the top. I've always been really into Oasis as well. But in terms of current bands, I don't know if my music sounds like them yet, but I really like Red Rum Club, who are a local band, and just something about how the hooks, there's constantly hooks in the songs and they're dead catchy, but without being cheesy, and it just shows everyone a good time. Another one is Jamie Webster. I think maybe my music's a bit closer to his stuff. Jamie Webster and Jerry Cinnamon was the person who got me into the guitar, and it was just seeing how someone, can go in not long at all, 2 or 3 years from nothing to writing about what they are, what they're about, basically, how they live, what's going on around them, and how they've gone massive. So I'd say they're my main inspirations at the moment.
I think I can say from everyone here at Mersey Radio, Jamie Webster and Red Rum Club are just on repeat. We absolutely, I said what you said about Red Rum Club, hit the nail on the head about real catchy, memorable hooks, memorable riffs, that kind of stuff. And I think we all agree, Jerry Cinnamon as well, artists who really play from the heart and play about things that are going on around them. I've got to ask you as well, if you like what we hear and want to get in touch or want to hear more, are you on social media?
I am. So across the board, my social media is Sam_Milne, and that's spelt MILLNE. You have to remember the double L.
And what we'll do after you played your track, we'll tweet out links to all your social media, your streaming playlist, your Spotify, your Bandcamp, your SoundCloud, all that stuff. We'll put that on our social media pages. So if you want to get in touch with Sam, want to hear more, get yourselves on our pages and you can click through. And obviously you'll hear his track he's released previously. There's a brand new track which we're going to play in a second, and all that brand new stuff that's coming in the new year. But Sam, it's come to that time of the afternoon. I'm going to pass it over to you. Do you want to introduce your track for us?
Yeah, so this is Sam Milne's Maybe. Hope you enjoy.